And we are back. Love y'all to pieces. We're here at another thrilling edition of the Doing All Right podcast here at Crown Global Media, presented to you by our good friends at Ownwell. Today, Bryan Broaddus, we got questions.
Yes.
Friday questions. People love to ask questions, Bryan. They love to get our feedback because they hear us talk all week, but we might miss something.
Yeah.
Or they may have a thought about something and they kind of want to do a fake imaginary back and forth.
Okay, I got you.
People like to fuss at us too, Bryan.
They like to fuss.
Now, when draft season come around, this will be more like Fuss Fridays or whatever.
Right.
But as of now, we just got questions and Q&A. I was going to ask you about some injury stuff.
Yeah.
Some of these questions are like injury related.
Sure.
So I'm just kind of I'm a weave and work some of those things in. But right now I just do have a general question for you. Donovan Wilson looks like he's kind of gonna give it a go there. He got 2 hurt body parts and he's gonna try to make an attempt at it, right, Bryan?
Yeah, he is going to try, and he was banged up, as you mentioned in that game the other day. Dono's a tough guy, and he's he's not going to want to take himself out of the opportunity. If he can't go, then I would expect Marquise Bell to get some work in there as that backup to him. But he's going to try and give it a go this week. There was some questions about his fitness earlier in the week, but he's just one of those guys that he wants to be on the field. He takes responsibility for how he plays. So he'll be a part of what this defense needs to try and stop this Carolina game offense. I think the running game might be something that they feature. They're going to need his presence around the line of scrimmage and his ability to tackle.
Tyler Guyton looks like a full. He's good to go, so we expect to have him at left tackle there, Bryan. Do you think that they're going to kind of do the rotation with Nate now, because Tyler's back, and now they have an excuse to do it, right? Like, hey, Tyler, you're coming off of this. We'll work in Nate at left tackle. We'll work in Nate at right tackle. How do you think the Nate relationship is going to go with left or right tackle? Or do you think Nate just sits down because offensive line typically doesn't rotate like that?
Yeah, no, this is the fascinating thing about having some quality backup guys. And Stephen Jones even brought this up a couple of weeks ago. We had the opportunity to ask him. I know specifically I asked him a question about Nate Thomas playing, and he was saying, hey, our tackles, our starters need to be aware of, there's competition. And Schottenheimer is a big believer. That's something in every press conference he talks about is competition. And he's like, listen, I'm not this old school guy like you. You get hurt, you lose your spot. If guys are playing well, you have to kind of think about that. And I think with Nate Thomas, though, they've got a guy. They want to keep him on the ready. They want to make sure that if something else happens, we're not even halfway through this season now, but, you're starting to see some teams that have injuries. The Cowboys have dealt with these injuries along the offensive line. You have to have guys ready to play. So, yeah, if even in the Green Bay game, we saw Nate Thomas getting some work at right tackle for Terrence Steele. No injury reported on Terrence Steele during the game, but it was just a straight substitution. I would anticipate, and I think this has to do, Voch, with some of the stuff with the offensive line coaches. I think the offensive line coaches are the ones that are pushing Brian Schottenheimer to say, hey, let's get Nate more involved here, and that way keep him ready.
Let me ask you this, Bryan. This wasn't on my paper.
Sure.
On my phone. And this isn't a Voch says this question, because I do have some Voch says this questions, Bryan. In regards to Nate, right?
Right.
Big picture wise, the coaches probably have a vision for the player.
Right.
Right now, he's a different guy than what the future of him probably looks like, Bryan. Right now, he's like swing tackle guy. I would imagine that they look at Nate Thomas, because Tyler Guyton's over there, as a future possible this guy could start right tackle for us.
Right.
Terrence Steele's contract's coming up. He ain't really blowing you away with his play anyway, Bryan. What I want to ask you is, as a coach, personnel guy, Jerry Jones probably gets involved too, because this is the Cowboys. How do you guys come together and have a meeting and say, hey, Nate is the swing tackle, and Shotty likes to rotate him in to get him reps and all this kind of stuff, but I don't want to diminish his right tackle play because he's having to swing and play so much left tackle. Because at the end of the day, maybe we have a vision that he's going to be our right tackle of the future, possibly, Bryan.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. Maybe you know that Guyton is likely your future left tackle. He's playing right now, and then so you drafted him with the idea of him being the left tackle. There is some uncertainty though with Steele. The Steele, you have to give Steele credit though. The run blocking stuff has been stellar. He and Booker, now Bass, those guys have done a really nice job. So, the things that you wouldn't think that Steele would be very good at, power, run blocking, getting push, he's been very, very good at. It's the pass protection stuff. So if you play Nate Thomas, you see Nate Thomas is a much more powerful guy. He's a stouter guy. And if you're Jerry Jones as the general manager or Will McClay, you're asking these questions of your coaches and the head coach. It's like, listen, if we think Nate Thomas is our future potentially at right tackle, we need to make sure that he's getting those right tackle reps. We need to make sure that if he's practicing, make sure he's practicing all those reps on the right side there, and make sure that he's getting that look and he feels comfortable. That if we have to move him over, fine, but let's make sure he's comfortable at right tackle. And then it's like now when it comes time to making the decision on Steele, it's a little bit of an easier transition. He's played right tackle. He's comfortable playing right tackle. He does have the flexibility to play left tackle if we have to, but most of those reps have been on that right side where he can easily plug in and be ready to play.
Because look, Brian, just thinking about it some more, this question ended up being a little better than I thought, Bryan Broaddus.
Yeah.
Last week, Hakeem Adeniji played left guard.
Right.
They don't have a future tied into him. And Hakeem Adeniji played some damn good left guard last week.
He did.
I must say, my eyes are closed, I'm saying. But, move Hakeem Adeniji all over the place. We don't have a future vision for Hakeem Adeniji. We could just plug him in where we need it. He may not even be here next year. Nate is probably a better guard, and Hakeem is probably the better tackle. But they're not playing Nate at guard.
Right.
Because in our minds, he's future tackle.
Future tackle guy.
All that kind of plays into it. Like is that evidence make sense now that okay, well, because I was thinking that Nate is one of those guys that play forward but not center. So he can play both guards and both tackles or whatever. But it seems like he's locked in on those tackle jobs because they made Hakeem play guard. Yeah,
the thing about with Adeniji though is if you go back and watch him playing at Cincinnati when they went to the Super Bowl, he was a starting guard. So he has that familiarity and background. He just has not done it all that much. But when that Cincinnati team went to the Super Bowl, that he was a part of that. And so that's why they felt very comfortable. The question was last week, would they move TJ Bass from right side to left side? And there's people in the organization that will tell you that they feel like that maybe TJ Bass is a better left guard. But what did they do? They said, no, let's keep him on the right side because what you're having him work with Steele. I don't think you want to mess things up with Steele. I was a little worried, Voch, going into this one that how were they going to be able to run the ball? Was Steele and Bass going to be able to get the same kind of push that Steele and Booker have been getting? That didn't seem to me like that they lost very much there. Nothing against Booker. They've been outstanding, but it didn't seem like to me there was that drastic dip in the production. So having Adeniji play the guard spot, that's something he'd been comfortable with when he was at Cincinnati. But the fact they played him on the left side tells you a lot about what they think about Bass and Steele working together on that right side.
Soul Goddess 13 says.
That's a good one.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Say it like this, Brian. Is there a future where, or this could be the right now, the present, Brian, where Tyler Smith gets on the Tyron Smith program to where, the tendonitis is going to linger all year till you rest on it or whatever, right?
Right.
Tyler, because he got to get back in the game.
Right.
He's going to get to a point where he's just not practicing, but maybe on Sundays they can manage and he'll just go out and play.
Yeah. I wonder, I haven't not talked to anybody in the organization about this per se, but you and I have talked about this, and this could be a 3-week on, 1 week off kind of thing, especially if you find that Adeniji and others are able to step in. Now, you're going to be some tougher games. This is going to get difficult for Tyler Smith down the road. The one thing that he absolutely needs is rest. Mm-hmm. That would help him more than anything. But in an NFL season, it's hard to get rest. You have that bye week at a time, and you got to take advantage of that. But it makes me wonder if they're trying to make sure that when they get past the bye and then you get into those games. Man, we got a lot of these games. We got Mondays and Thursdays, and it's short weeks and all that. I mean, this is going to be very, very difficult if they can't manage these injuries with Tyler Smith now. I think that any time that they could steal a week for him would be a great thing, but it's just they're going to have to probably do it right now and then do it in the bye, because once the bye passes, now you're in those games. There's some very, very difficult games ahead, and you're going to need him to play in all those.
Yeah, I agree, Brian. I think, there is an option to where you could just rest him until it's all gone.
Right.
I would rather have him in December and January.
Yeah.
Than to kind of have him now and we're kind of forcing him into this stuff. Just like the wide receiver conversation, right? Like, this offensive line is playing fine enough to where it's not an emergency. Also, too, Brian, keep me the buck, and I promise I don't hate the man. If this was the Mike McCarthy administration,
yeah,
Brian, you could probably convince me that we need to bring all of our best players back right now. But the Joe Philbin and those guys, whatever.
Hey, can I ask you a question about talking about the running game and stuff like that?
Yeah, Brian.
And
Brian says this.
Brian says this, and the question I have for you and I've had this discussion. I had it with Jeff Kavanaugh, okay. And I'm just curious about your thought about it, because we're in this mode now where we're talking about running backs and maybe the future of re-signing Williams, and how much Williams' evaluation now as a back went from 10.7 to now over $13 million a year. Okay, the question I have for you is that, are you in a situation where you're looking at him and going, yes, you have to re-sign him, or are we getting into the Mike Shanahan type of a scheme? And I mean scheme where the line, the scheme, the coaches, the quarterback, everything's helping the running back. Yep. And you could plug in Alonda Scary, Mike Anderson. You could plug in those guys, because the scheme is so good, the coaching's so good, and the players are so good up front.
I would need a lot more evidence before I can fully trust that. I think this has been a good first couple of weeks for the Schottenheimer administration.
Right.
Clay Knapp's administration. Fantastic first couple of weeks. I would need to see something happen to Williams and Miles Sanders just picks up the slack. Or Malik Davis gets called up, he goes and have an 80-yard game. Because that's what happened in the Shanahan administration. Like young Shanahan, we look over there and, all right, Christian McCaffrey, they didn't roll out the bed saying, oh, yeah, Tyrion Davis-Price would be just fine here.
Yeah.
They had to go with him, or Mostert, or Mason, Jordan, and these guys, and it just happens to work.
Right.
It just happens to work.
Yeah.
So now with all this evidence, they go, man, look, any running back can navigate this system. But on that same token, Brian, even after all that, even after Eli Mitchell will go out there and be one of the better running backs in the league, they still want one of the best running backs in the league.
Yeah.
And I respect that from them, because Jerry Jones, as much as people want to, hate on him, that's his talking point, right? Take your strength, add to that strength, and keep your strength for strength.
Yeah.
That's what San Fran does, Brian. Yeah. So they don't just settle with, we got the best run game, we'll play anybody. Nah, they'll get Philadelphia. Got their ass whooped last night. I can't stand them.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders was just fine. That Miles Sanders Boston Scott combo was just fine. DeAndre Swift was even better than them. He was even better than that. But Brian, they still use the resources to go get Saquon Barkley. And those teams end up in Super Bowl situations because they make the investments and they make their strength an even better strength. So I don't want to just lean on the idea that the O-line is much better now, because
the scheme's better.
Philly and San Fran got a damn good O-line too. They got a damn good scheme over there. So you might as well fill that whole triangle out and keep the running back talent in there. I love Javonte Williams. If he's going to be expensive like that, I sign him for one more year. And I let him be the Montgomery to my new Gibbs. And I draft a dude and I'll let him, new draft guy, and Jadon Blue work amongst each other.
Yeah, I just was kind of curious, though, is it, do you get to a point where the scheme is so good you can do that? But I absolutely see your point. The teams that are running the ball and having success, even though they have a great scheme, they have great coaching, they have a quality quarterback, they have a really good offensive line, it's still the running back still does matter.
Yeah, 100%, Bryan Broaddus. That's a fantastic question by you. How about this one, Bryan? Let me open this one up. Since we talk about the Eagle and ass, well, Jose Mendez, shouts out to you, sir. Shouts out to Jose. He says, man, Bryan and Voch, they love the long man.
They do the long man. Yeah.
I'll say it like this. He put a long, passionate message about the Eagles getting smoked. Eagles got smoked, Bryan.
Yeah.
If the Eagles continue to prove that they're not the boogeyman of the division, does that encourage Jerry Jones to, be more aggressive? If you're the Cowboys and you're at the bottom of the division, some people may think that the Giants are better than you. That's false. But the Washington Football Wizards are they're a team that's going to be competitive in this thing. The Eagles, you felt like they were going to be competitive in this thing. If the Eagles continue to slip around, right? If you Jerry, you go, hey man, the division might be a little closer in reach than I thought it was. Would that make Jerry a little more aggressive and going out to go get some help?
I still think that they're kind of in that mode right now where they need to see their own team. I think the outside right now, it's looking more promising. The Eagles, let's be real honest here. There probably should be a couple more losses on their ledger.
Sure.
The Dallas game in Week 1 could have very well been a loss. You look at what happened with the Rams. That very well could have been a loss right there. They fortunately for them, they blocked a couple of field goals there, but that team might not be as what we thought it was coming into the season, and maybe they are a little bit more of the mid-pack. We'll see what happens with the Commanders now that they've got their quarterback back in the mix. We'll see. That game's coming up next week for you. You got to get past this Carolina game, and then you'll see where the Commanders are at. The Giants, they're probably kicking themselves right now with the start that they had. Why did they not play Jackson Dart earlier? And why, the Scattaboo? They could have gone to Scattaboo earlier too. They had some injuries there. So this division as a whole is probably getting a little bit tougher. So, you've got some games you got to play against that. But I think to me overall, Jerry's going to look at what happens, say, the next 3 weeks. And then he's going to say, okay, this is where we're at as a team. This is where we're at in the division. And this is where we're at in the conference. And once he makes that determination, or the front office makes that determination, then you're going to see him, I think about trades. I think he has in mind that he would like to do something, but I think he's also in that prove it to me that I need to make this move stage.
I would go get the help anyway. I'm calling people anyway, but
sure.
But the Eagles looking crazy is definitely some motivation.
Well,
because now you just got to be better than Washington, and you already have confidence because of who Dak is and how he plays versus those guys.
Right.
And if Dak feels good about those guys, like everything else just kind of got to fall into place. I would be looking for all the other things, in general. Like even if the Eagles were so top tier. In my mind, I'm going, I need to be top tier so I can match their top tier.
Right.
So if they falling off, even better, Bryan.
Yeah, see, to me, that's where you're kind of in that mode right now where are the Eagles just going through a little bad stretch right now, or is this really who they are? Sure. I think the pressure on them is going to continue to mount because people are now going to start talking about that locker room more and more and more and more. And then all of a sudden then the finger pointing starts right there. And are you able to kind of, can you get the locker room right? And that's going to be a big issue for them.
Voch says this, Bryan. Do you think the linebacker, I think this will go, do you think the linebacker and safety rotation is eventually going to depend on down and distance and game situations?
I think it's going to have a little bit of I think there's some things that Matt Eberflus wants to do scheme-wise. There's some things that were really positive coming out of that Jets game. I think I think he's trying to figure out what guys he wants to play. I think along the defensive line, they're really interested in the rotations. I think at linebacker, they would like to find 3 guys that they can count on. And then also, we'll see what happens. I think the secondary is starting to stabilize more. You'll see with Diggs, he played 100% of the snaps last week. With Bland, there was some worry. Was he nicked up? You're starting to see him play a lot more. You're going to start getting some of these corners back too. Also, how will they work into the mix? The safety spot of it right now is, you've seen a couple of different safeties play. So that's where I think, to me, if there's going to be rotation, you might think about what's going on at safety, and then the linebacker thing, maybe through 1 or 2 more weeks, you'll see at that thing that they determine, like, okay, we just need to go with Leafau. We need to go with Murray. We need to go with James, and that's the guys that we're gonna ride with.
Fantastic response, Bryan. I do think at some point this thing will just kind of work itself out.
Yeah.
Just over time, some guys will just play more, play less. You would love to have a group that just is going to be your group. But honestly, Bryan, how it is I would just take whatever wins I can get defensively.
Right.
I would take whatever wins that I can get. And if I can get the stop and it works, I'll continue to get that stop. We're going to take a quick break right here. And Bryan Broaddus is going to tell us about our good friends at Ownwell.
Yeah, homeowners, when was the last time your property tax bill made you smile? That's been a while probably for you right there. And, that's exactly what's going on here. I mean, when are you happy about your tax bill? But I partnered with a brand that actually makes that possible. Ownwell is a company that helps you lower your bill. You get a rebate back, puts money in your pockets. We all love when we can put money in our pockets. With Ownwell, you sign up. I told you this last time. In about 3 minutes, they handle your appeal. They handle the hearing. There's no upfront cost with that at all. Their team of appraisers, CPAs, data scientists have deep county relationships. So like 86% of the customers see a reduction and a savings around $1,100 on average. And the fee is just only 25%. And that's only if you save money. Most others are going to charge you an arm and a leg, 40, 50%. You can't have that. We're talking about hundreds and thousands of homeowners who trust Ownwell with 4.7 plus stars on Google and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. So they're live in the states of Texas, California, Florida, New York, Illinois, Washington, and Georgia. So if you're like Voch and you have places all over the country, multiple states, you're covered. The bottom line is less stress, more time, more money back, and they'll reappeal your every year for you. So the savings just keep stacking up for you. So do me a favor. Pull out your phone and scan this QR code. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to Voch. It supports our show. You get your free savings estimate in minutes and let Ownwell run the play for you. It's rare. Everybody wins with a company, but with Ownwell, it's an easy touchdown. And make sure you tell them that Bryan sent you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Broaddus. Thank you, Ownwell. Bryan, I got another little situation here that I was looking at there. Just looking back at this Andrew report, the 21-day window for Mingo was open.
Yeah.
It kind of went backwards, Bryan.
Yeah, it did.
What happened with that?
I think you're in a situation right now where we talked about, I used the word slow play.
Yeah.
And when I asked somebody in the front office, like, you slow playing this stuff? You slow playing these injuries? Well, they say no. But they're slow playing these availability.
So, Bryan, you say he'll go out there and practice a day and the Cowboys kind of evaluate where he's at.
Right.
And they take him off real quick.
Yeah.
Because in theory, he's not ready. In their minds, he's not ready.
Yeah.
But they did want to see him kind of run around. Like, he did practice.
He did practice. He practiced full and did some things like that. But you're also in a situation where they're pretty comfortable with what's going on at wide receiver, even with CeeDee Lamb being unavailable. Next week against the Commanders, you're going to have CeeDee Lamb in the mix, and now it's going to be about, okay, now how are you going to adjust? You could have Turpin back in the mix as well. Sure. How are you going to adjust? Where does Mingo fit, in fact, if you continue to get really solid play from Flanoy? See, that's the questions now you have to ask yourself is, are you going to put him on and at what cost, and who are you going to take off? And it might not be a wide receiver. You might have to take another position off to get him on the 53-man roster. And I don't think the Cowboys are really comfortable right now of pulling anybody out of the rotations, both offensively and defensively, to make that happen.
That's so interesting, Bryan Broaddus.
Yeah.
Because this whole thing is kind of surrounded with the idea of we only got a handful of roster spots. But I guess it's a good problem because you got a lot of dudes that can come in and play. I think this segues fantastically into this question here that Dario Salinas, so that's Dario Salinas probably.
Yeah.
He says, is Jaylen Tolbert spot in danger? But let me add some of this to it. Let me make Dario's question even better. Bryan Broaddus, how do you balance the roster management of you got a guy, he's being outplayed by many others. Let's say 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 others. That seems to be the case.
Yeah.
He doesn't have trade value.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of people saying, let's trade Tolbert.
Yeah.
You ain't getting a pick back for Tolbert. You know what I mean? You got a foe for Mingo. And that was with a bunch of hope involved. You know what I mean? They're not just going to cut Jalen Tolbert, though.
No.
He's going to be around.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance that conversation? Player personnel, man, Jerry Jones is around. You know, Will McClay and all these guys, they having conversations. You can't cut Jalen Tolbert. You can't trade him. You can't play him because you get worse when you do. What do you do in that situation, Bryan?
Here's my question to you. You know me that I always believe in the sponsors. Mm-hmm. Players have sponsors.
Sure.
Would you like to take a guess?
Tolbert's got the 2 biggest sponsors on the team.
Who's that?
Shotty and Foe. Shotty and Foe.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This makes this very difficult from the personnel side of things for a guy like Will McClay to have to be able. It makes it difficult for Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones. Dak Prescott loves Jalen Tolbert. Are you going to go ahead and try and upset all that? And you're saying, well, wait a minute, Broaddus, why are you letting the players run the department? It matters. It matters. Dak Prescott playing at a very, very high level. Dak Prescott with seniority. Dak Prescott, hell, it's happened to every quarterback's been here. It goes all the way back to, Troy Aikman. It goes back to Tony Romo. It goes back to these guys. Dak Prescott has built up enough credibility with the Joneses and then with Shotty to be able to walk in there and say, listen, what are you thinking about doing with Tolbert? And listen, don't get rid of him. Don't get rid of him. That guy, I could throw him the ball. I might throw him the ball twice a game, but he's going to make a play for me. Don't get rid of him. Sponsors matter. And that's where I think we're at right now with Tolbert. Yep. I think that Dak Prescott thinks so much of Tolbert, it's going to be hard for them to move on from him.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Go ahead.
Dak is best friends with La'el Collins and Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
Why was it easy to move on from them and not Tolbert?
I think what happened with that was because both those guys proved that they couldn't play anymore.
They're a little older.
Yeah. You go back, Dak is going to say, he's going to look at the other day in the game, the one target, but
that was a huge target.
A huge target.
7 touchdowns last year.
Yeah. But that's kind of where you're at right now with him. I think it's one of those. Well, look at it. He drew coverage. He runs routes. I could trust him. Look what happened in the Green Bay game. We don't block anybody, and I got a guy on my face, and I launch it down the sidelines, and he comes back for the ball and makes a huge play. Dak is going to fight and argue. Now, is Dak going to get his way? Maybe not, but there is going to be a fight. And I mean a fight in a professional way. I don't mean a fight of maybe what's going on in Philadelphia with their group. Mm-hmm. I mean there is going to be a fight of why are you wanting to move on from this guy? Why? Is there somebody else we can move on from? Now, me personally, I would look at teams that might need a receiver. For example, if you were talking about trading for Trey Hendrickson for Cincinnati doesn't need one of your wide receivers. Yeah. They sure could use Ball, or TJ Bass. I had a flashback there. Yeah. Ball, TJ Bass.
Both guards.
Yeah. Hoffman. Yeah. Thomas. They could use one of those guys.
Nate Thomas hot right now, Bryan. Do you kind of take his hotness and use
I'm watching. I'm watching tape. I'm watching tape. If I'm a pro guy in one of these teams,
yeah,
and I'm looking at my 5 offensive linemen out there, and I'm going, what? Yeah, sure. I mean that guy's a backup for them.
Nate probably has more trade value than Tolbert does, huh?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But see, that's what I'm saying though. If you as a team, you have to be very mindful if you're willing to move on from one of your guys. Tolbert, you could trade him to a wide receiver needy team, and they could say, well, listen, this guy's better. This guy had 8 touchdowns last year. This guy runs pretty good routes. This guy catches the ball okay. There's things that you could do with Tolbert, another team could take advantage of that. So, yeah, I think there's always trade value for players. You just have to find the right team. And like I say, if you're interested in making a deal with Cincinnati and you don't want to give up picks, maybe you start to say, we'll give you a pick, but we'll also give you – see, that's what Cincinnati was looking for initially. They were talking second-round pick and a player. That's how things – you make it work with you give up one of your young offensive linemen.
Sure. It's a fantastic point, Bryan Broaddus. Fantastic point. I just think you just
how do you handle the Tolbert?
I cut him, Bryan.
You just let him go?
I cut him. You know, I think because if I'm taking it from GM's point of view, I don't have years left with Tolbert.
Yeah,
he's not a guy that you re-sign.
Right.
I don't have any. Even if Tolbert says like veteran minimum or something, you know what I mean? Yeah. You'll still feel like I can draft a guy that could probably give me more, and I'll take that cheap draft player money over a Tolbert on veteran minimum, and I just keep getting younger, Bryan.
I just think that you're going to run into the discussion is going to be
and Tolbert to go right to New Orleans with Kellen or something.
Yeah,
and he'll have a spot there. He'll be fine there.
Yeah,
but just this team, how it's currently built,
right?
Flournoy is emerging. Mingo got 2 more years on his deal. You feel like Mingo is a different type of player than Tolbert is. We always mention the redundancies there. Turpin just got money.
See, we haven't seen it from Mingo, which makes it difficult for me.
I haven't seen it from Mingo, for sure.
See, that makes it difficult for me when you start to talk about getting rid of players. And I know that Tolbert hasn't lived up to his expectations. Matter of fact, back-to-back picks, him and Sam Williams.
Yeah.
And there was talk about we got to take Tolbert in the second, and we're not going to get Sam. Those are 2 players that just have not lived up to the expectations of but sponsors do matter at times, and I think that's what he's living on right now. That's going to be what you're going to have to do with Dak. You're going to have to convince Dak that listen, and he's going to say, well, hey, I like Mingo, but I don't like him more than I like Tolbert. Maybe the grind of the season will take care of this though for you.
Yeah.
With the 21-day window, maybe something will happen where they can get Mingo on without having to do something with Tolbert. But I think to me, I would try and move Tolbert. But if I don't, I can understand why you would say just release him.
This last question was inspired by my good friend Marcus Hardison there. He's a big friend of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to word it like this though. Marcus Hardison says, at Crown Global Media, that's us. Right?
That's us.
Marcus Hardison says, what's more likely to happen, Bryan? Eberflus gets fired because he couldn't adapt to the players, or a huge swath of players get moved on from in order to make room for new players to come in that fit Eberflus's scheme. What's more likely to happen?
Yeah, I think that depends on what kind of season you have. Is this a season where, say you finish the year 9-7-1, and you don't make the playoffs? I think it's going to be then the evaluation that buys Shoddy some credibility. That buys them credibility. These coaches already have credibility. Probably a lot on the offensive side of the ball have a little bit more credibility right now with the Joneses. Sure. That's just me talking. That's not. Please don't clip that and say, "Oh, Broaddus said." No, I just feel like that maybe that the Joneses front office probably feels a little bit better about their offensive coaches right now, after what they've kind of done. I would like to believe that they would keep Flus in the mix and try and build guys around that and move on from some guys. You're going to have some guys that are naturally going to go away. At the end of the year. I mean, you look at potentially the Sam Williams. I believe Fowler's on a 1-year deal. I mean, there's some guys that their contracts are up that they will probably move on from, and then or maybe just naturally say, hey, we're just going to cut them and take the cap hits and go. But I think it's more likely that the coach stays and there's changes within the personnel.
I would agree, Bryan. I think big change is coming regardless. I think this is Diggs' last season. That's just how I feel personally.
Sure.
When you hear the coaches kind of, like Flus came out with a comment the other day, and hey, Trey wanted to play more man.
Yeah.
Well, we're doing this, and Shoddy had a conversation. He talked about it. Like Trey said, hey, can we do some of these things? Shoddy was like, nah. You know, if I had to guess, I don't think there are going to be coaches going to bat for Trevon Diggs. And the Joneses already kind of had they already bumped heads with him. They kind of made up this offseason, but they have had a disagreement about it, Brian. I think guys like him are out of there. Bland will be around. I think this safety group is going to look totally different next year. I think this group of linebackers is going to look relatively different. We would want Overshown to be healthy.
Yeah,
but some of the veterans that are in this group, they probably won't even be here. And you said it, Brian. Some of these edges, I think Kenny and Osa are going to be here for sure.
Sure.
But some of these veteran D linemen are definitely going to be out of here. So maybe this next draft and free agent cycle is going to be catered to Flus getting some guys that are more fit for him.
Yeah, it's to me a lot depends on how the record of the team. I mean, if this defense completely falls apart, and then all of a sudden, you get in these games and it's a losing. Maybe Shoddy makes some changes there, but I just think that they're going to probably ride with him and make the changes more in the roster than the coaching staff.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate all those questions, man.
Appreciate you, Mr. Broaddus. Appreciate y'all for tapping in with just another good batch of questions on this lovely Friday edition. We'll do it all over again next week. What y'all can do, if you got some more questions based on anything that we said now, you can put them in the comments, and I'll hold them till next week, and we'll just roll it over like that. Cowboys got Carolina this weekend. We will hopefully that we get a victory with that, and we'll come in here next week, celebrate, break it all down, and do it all over again. Appreciate y'all. Be sure that you tap in with our merch store. That's in the description. Go over there, get yourself some tumblers, some half zips, hoodies, whatever you like. Go down in there, and appreciate y'all for going in the shop, supporting the shop, purchasing something. Thank you very much. It means the world to us. Follow us on all of our socials: Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. That's Bryn Broaddus. I'm VOCHLOMBARDI. We'll catch y'all next time. All right, Crown.